Breaking aviation news.
Good afternoon and welcome to Vertical Aviation News Network. This is your captain speaking. And as always, we give a disclaimer that investigations are still ongoing with the crashes that we will be discussing today. Today we will be giving an update on the Lear 35 crash that happened in Scottsdale, Arizona. And also we will have a discussion about the Delta 4819 flight that crashed in Toronto. As I said, these investigations are still ongoing and we're waiting for the official reports. Today we're reporting live from our office here in Atlanta, Georgia. The weather is getting pretty bad. We got storms pushing in, so we're inside the office today. As I said, on the Lear 35 crash that happened in Scottsdale, Arizona, as we previously reported that we suspected that there was going to be the NTSB would be looking at those landing gear, looking for inspections for cracks and things like that to show signs of why it collapsed and failed on landing. And as we found out, the NTSB has released preliminary reports that that aircraft did have previous history of problems with the landing gear. It was also released in a photo, someone that had taken video and photo as it was landing, and the landing gear, the left main landing gear, can be seen that it was not in the proper position with the landing gear down. As I said in my maintenance background, we had certain checks that were always done as part of heavy maintenance checks, where we would check landing gear and we would be looking for cracks and things like that, as those areas are prone to have issues just because of the nature of what they do. The aircraft coming down, landing repeatedly, a lot of stress put on that particular area of the aircraft, in all aircraft, and those are routinely checked and they are inspected. This particular landing gear, it was previously noted having issues. Also, the last mechanic that checked that landing gear noted that it took an excessive amount of grease, but did not note any other significant issue with the landing gear. It turns out it did have cracks or failures within the landing gear, and subsequently contributed to the collapse of the landing gear once it came in and landed on a normal approach, normal landing, nothing out of the ordinary. And it had previously landed and refueled, as the flight originated out of Florida, and it had stopped in Missouri, I believe, for refuel, and then it continued on to Scottsdale, where it crashed in where it actually landed, and then as it was taxiing, as it was on its as it was after it landed and then rolling, the landing gear collapsed, and then it was traveling at approximately 50 knots, which is approximately around 60 to 65 miles an hour, and it skewed off into, it veered off to the left, which was the side that the landing gear failed on, and it continued to, just from its momentum, just continued on and subsequently crashed into into a parked aircraft, a parked Gulfstream 200. The co-pilot did die in this accident, and everyone else on board were fine, suffered from minor injuries, and was released from hospitals the same day. As I said, that's what we originally reported, that we suspected there was probably some sign of issues with that landing gear prior to it crashing. And that's what the NTSB immediately started to look for, going back in its old records and looking at those previous inspections and see that they were completed and what was noted. And now moving on to the Delta Flight 4819, which is the crash that happened in Toronto, where the aircraft ultimately inverted and skidded down the runway on its upside down. A couple of things to note about that crash that we had previously discussed about, the wind gusts and things like that, as well as how hard they came in on the landing. As you can see, other videos that have came out, and I've taken a look at them and analyzed them and looked at how it came in for landing. The aircraft appears to be that it did not flare at the end to kind of soften its landing as it normally would. As I said, they were having wind gusts in excess of 30 to 35 knots, which is very high wind gust, even for large aircraft. That's a pretty high gust, and maybe the pilot in their technique and what they thought was best, they came down pretty fast, and they did not flare at the end to kind of cushion that landing. Looks like they were trying to use the airspeed to kind of counteract the gust that they were encountering. In addition to that, Delta did offer $30,000, no strings attached, to all the passengers that were on that flight. A lot of people were thinking that was a very low number, and that that it was insulting to the passengers that went through something like that. What that was not a settlement payment or anything like that. It's actually what's considered a goodwill gesture by the airlines to immediately give some type of relief to survivors of an air crash. Now, also with that, it's not just goodwill from the airlines. It's also in what's called the Montreal Treaty. It is not not Montreal Treaty, a Montreal Convention. That's an international law for airlines in the event that they have crashes, that it's known that they will have liability for injuries and things like that. So they must give some type of initial payment. Now those payments will vary from airlines to airlines, from crash event to crash event. There's no standard, there's no set amount. It's based on what the airlines makes a decision to do. In this instance, Delta made the decision to offer $30,000 to all the passengers and as well as the crew. Now, that does not preclude any of those passengers or anyone that takes that payment, that does not stop them from continuing to pursue legal action outside of that. As stated by Aviation Law Group PS, they also represent some of these passengers that's going to take legal action against the airlines, they note that those funds they have no strings attached, and they recommend that the passengers do take those funds to help themselves in the immediate time. And basically what it is, they can take legal action later on, and once there is an actual settlement, those funds that you have received from Delta will just basically be deducted later from any settlement that you ultimately reach with the airlines. So example, if you get a $250,000 settlement, a year, 2 years down the road, what they will do is they will just deduct that $30,000 off of that $250,000, and you would ultimately get a check for $220,000. That's how that works under the Montreal Convention for airlines that have that has a crash, and they offer those funds in the immediate sense to help to help the crash victims in their immediate need. So those are things you should know as a passenger in the event something like this happens. There are certain airline treaties and laws and rights of passengers that you should know about. A lot of times we all book flights and just click that button saying that you accept the terms and conditions. Sometimes if you're bored, because they're pretty lengthy and boring, but you should actually read those to know what your rights are in the event that there is you're involved in a aircraft accident. And always consult with an attorney as far as what your rights are and what you can do if you are involved in those. As I am not an attorney or a legal advisor, I'm just giving you some public knowledge that's out there and that has been released. As I said, the Aviation Law Group, yes, you can search them. They handle these types of cases and can give you any advice if you are one of the victims and seeking legal advice. We are not in partnership with them or anything. I just read their name in one of the articles, and as I said, one of the public information that's available out there. Now, moving on to our aircraft of the week. It is a Bell 407GXI, another beautiful aircraft. This one is aircraft registration November 257 Juliet Bravo. It only has 20 hours on it, people. It is a beautiful, immaculate aircraft. They're asking $4,750,000. It is being sold by Freestream Aircraft. You can reach them at area code 732-552-6156. And as always, thank you for joining us at Vertical Aviation News Network. This has been your captain speaking. Safe travels.